Thanks everyone for joining us, and really good afternoon to all of you. It's first KubeCon in India, and very, very excited to be here doing a talk with all of you here. And thanks for joining us, as I said, and ditching the competing AI tracks. Today's talk is a little bit borrowed from a great achievement by Mr. Neil Armstrong when he first landed on moon with his first step. He said, a small step for man and a giant leap for mankind. It's quite a deep statement if you look. It meant a lot at that time, and it still means a lot from where we have come from that day to today. If we just, I mean, is there something happening in real world today as well, Shubham, which relates to this kind of statement?
Yeah, actually, there is a very good thing that is happening. So how many of you actually follow chess? Anybody? Nice, a few hands, OK. So right now, there is this world championship that is going on, and our favorite Gukesh, is actually getting into, for fighting for the world champion title. And if you look at it, so India used to be a chess capital like maybe 1,000 years ago. So now, if we look back 20 years back, our Vishy Anand, he actually just took a small step of being, thinking about becoming a grandmaster, yeah. And there was no chess left in India for a very long time. And then he took that small step, small thinking, and then that actually, if we fast forward today, India is now a chess capital. We have like 4 people in top 10. We have a lot of new grandmasters coming in, and we have just won the gold Olympiad. And just now, if we get, I hope he will win. It's going very tight match. But if he wins, then India will have the crown back. So I think we have to understand that whenever something big happens, whenever something big happens, this is too big. Chess was fairly big. But for an enterprise as well, changing the journey, changing their stack, that is also a big step. But big thing, but it all starts from fairly small steps. So I think that is the thing. So to heat up the conversation, I have like 2 questions for chess. We have few gifts, so I'll ask you. So if you know the answer, please raise your hands. So the current world champion, Ding Liren from China, when did he become the world champion? Anybody, any idea?
You can raise your hand and answer the question to win this exciting box surprise gift.
OK, so OK, you know the answer. No. OK. 23, yeah, that is the right answer. So you have this. How many squares are there in a chess board? Yeah, I just wondered, like, at least you know, like, guys, this, you know it. OK, last question. When did Vishwanathan Anand, he became the world champion? First time. Anybody?
2008?
No, that's wrong. 2000? No. No, I think that. But you are the closest. He became the world champion in 2000. So yeah, so
I'll
give it to you. OK. Yeah. OK. So
please take a gift after the talk from us.
OK, so I think that's a lot about chess. So let's go back to.
Yeah, right. OK, so as you said, the talk with today are here to present is a story from Fidelity International. Fidelity International is one of the biggest investment management solution company. It has a lot of products to help you invest and secure and grow your fund for over the year for your retirement and all needs of the life events. Please visit our site and invest with us if you are interested. But here we are not to sell the product, but we are to sell here the journey of Fidelity as an open source, where we took the first step of open source that actually finally helped us scale to the cloud native adoption of open source products where we stand today. So we'll talk about that in this talk. Both of us, two people here. I'm Ashwin Gupta. I am part of Fidelity for the last 14 years now. Total years of 20 years of experience in the industry, mostly on multiple aspects of system administration to development and releases and cloud engineering, which I'm doing right now. And I have Shubham with me here as well.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Shubham Bansal, and I work at Phil as a distinguished engineer, and I just have 9 years of experience, so I think half of the talk that we'll be talking about, I was not even there in the industry. So my areas of interest are developer productivity these days a lot. GI has to be because everybody is interested. And for like last 9 years, cloud and engineering transformation. I worked as technology strategist and as an engineer as well. I like to read code and eat delicious food. So I think thanks for the organizers, whoever organized this. The food was obviously very nice. So I think what's in it for you, every talk that we come in, I think it's very important to know that why you are giving us that 30 minutes. It's very important because time is very important. So technology-powered enterprises, I think you know the pain, like the change takes a lot of time and it's very difficult. So we thought of sharing a journey, like how do you transform the organizations like Fidelity, because they are like 50 or 50, more than 50 years old. Their business is not technology. Their business is finance or manufacturing or something else. So the technology is not, their main business. That's why it's very difficult to find out the business cases a lot of time. Technology companies or technology service providers, we are your customers. So I think it is always very good to hear from your customers, how do we change, so that you can maybe, knowing your customer is always very good. And technology-driven startups, I know that you won't be able to relate to it, a lot of it, but I think when you'll become big, when you'll have so many years I hope that your startups will grow that much. So you can take inspirations from us, like what not to do, and if you get into it, how to get out of slow cycles and something like that. So going back to the talk, Ashwin.
Right. So we are an enterprise, as Shubham called out, and it's not bad to be an enterprise. Just to say it very clearly here, enterprise has their own strengths and weaknesses. Yeah, they all have their own challenges, but they have own strengths as well to work upon. That's what we also had all the times. Enterprises do a lot of good things in their pockets, but they don't come out. They're generally shy to reveal what are they doing as good in their capacity. And that's what we have started doing recently in the last couple of years. We're trying to come out and speak on these platforms to say what we are doing great in technology and how are we changing ourselves. We're looking for collaborate with other enterprises as well. If you are looking to come out and show your work, good work to others to get inspired. To the talk, that's the key content now. So we will take you to a journey which started out a decade back. 2020 to 2014 is the time frame we are taking you to, because that's when the industry was, the IT was changing. Technology disruption was coming more realistically. Cloud was coming. Agile was getting much more focused. And whatnot was happening at that time. At that time, though, enterprises, any enterprise, was very much driven by support-based licensing. That's how we used to say enterprise-grade support was the primary thing to ask, because you cannot look for any open source product and who will run it, who will take care of it in the product. Downtime as an issue when the outage is happening. That's the fear we always had, any enterprise, any management, any technology folks of the enterprise also had the similar fear. So we had our own tech stack, which was from great companies, IBM, Oracles, and all tools are good. They were good for that time, what we were having at that time, to run our production services. Even though we need only one small section of the product, we were buying the whole license because that's how it was. Even though we had a small footprint of OSS, like Java frameworks and Apache Camel and other things, but they were very limited and very difficult to onboard as well, because there was a fear. There was always there's always a fear of lack of support, that how will we get a support if there's outage of any of the products which we are taking from without support bundle along with it. Other thing was there was a lack of ecosystem in the industry and in the company as well about how do you adopt, how do you secure, and how do you stay away from vulnerabilities from any open source product. And last thing, there was a lack of courage and intent in any organization which were too big, because there was no appetite as such as well to go and do things with such tools which are still kind of getting up and coming up from the root in the industry as open source world. But we had to change. Even though we were not doing anything great at that time, we were just depending upon tools and we were more of consumers of the tools. There were good thought leaders within the company at that time who were seeing that world is changing. If we don't start changing now, we'll be very far away from with catch-up, and we'll never be able to achieve the goal we want to. So that's where we decided, those leaders at that time, decided to take a courageous step and move towards the direction of travel of cloud, CI/CD, modern architectures, containers, microservices, all those things which are very important and where work started coming up in the market as the phenomena or the jargons at that time. And some adoption as well in small pockets as startups. So we had our own wish list. We had our own reason to change, that we have to change for these things. We had to be more innovative with the tool set. We have to get a kit like Lego blocks where we can make a small castle of our own by mixing multiple parts in the puzzles of the Lego block style approach. So we have to be more innovative and have better leg room to innovate. That's where we were looking for how do we do that. We have to start owning technology, not just running it or not just having it from someone and running it as is. That's where we took our first step out. a photo from Neil Armstrong stepping down on the moon, we also took a first step out. Those leaders at that time were able to manage to persuade or get the courage at top management level that we have to do something. And we did first step as Cloud Foundry. I don't know how many of you know this product. It has been quite famous as one point as a private cloud for PaaS. And we ran it in our data centers. And there was an open source version of the Cloud Foundry, but there was a supported version of Pivotal Cloud Foundry as well, supported by Pivotal Labs and services. We took that because we could not still have so much courage to just jump with the open source product. We took a blanket, safety blanket or comfort blanket of Pivotal support along with it. But what really that did, or what a small door that it opened was those small technologies behind under it. Spring Boot, RabbitMQ, Redis Cache, MySQL, all those things quietly crept into our system along with the PCF, Pivotal Cloud Foundry. And that was the first actual byproduct of open source adoption that gave us a taste of open source. We started understanding how to balance open source in production when you're running systems based upon open source stack. That was the first step we took at one point of time. Even though the first step looks quite fairly straightforward to do, but it was very thought through as well. It was not just done in a rush. We never overcommitted ourselves. We did a very careful study. We looked for a bundled product which is well packaged, which serves to our need with the right requirement and right mixture of balance from support and technology need as well, and business need as well. And we adopted that tool because baby step is very important. That's the main fundamental of agile, right? Moving agile and doing iterative approaches. And that's what we did. We built a strong team around it, which could be properly full stack team to support the product so that we can do a disciplined releases and show our management what the discipline is in this new world and how can you achieve a product-based approach rather than project-based approach that we have been doing all that while. So along with the technology, we brought in the ways of working, the ways of changing the team, how the operating model will be. All those new phenomena started coming along with those, and those were intentionally brought in so that we can really actually take benefit of the full benefit of the open source adoption, not just doing it because we have to tick box saying, yeah, we have done it. So we started bringing all those learnings as well. And as I said, we went to Cloud Foundry, Pivotal Cloud Foundry, but that was just for initial couple of years. And we had killer view to move to open source, and we did that. And we saved multi-million, tens of millions of dollars at the end after 2 years of moving from PCF to CF, open source Cloud Foundry. And today, Cloud Foundry runs is fully open source for last 4 years. Though we are decommissioning it now, we're moving to Kubernetes now, thanks to Kubernetes. But that's how we have been in that journey so far.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to remove that. So now you know that 10 minutes are over, so maybe that's a relief. OK, so how many of you know like comfort zones, yeah? We all like comfort zones. I don't know whether you watch Big Bang Theory, but Sheldon Cooper said comfort zones are good because that's why they are named comfort zones. But I think in life, that's not the truth. Comfort zone, you have to get out of the comfort zone. And every day we have these inflection points. That's what we call, that we have the option to change. And everything is like a small step or do nothing and live as is. And that's what is true in organizations on daily basis. It is true today, and it will be true after like 10 years, 15 years, or whatever it is. But generally, if you look at a small step and do nothing as is, we generally can't actually tell it to our leaders, why do I take that small step? Because why do I want to spend $10 million or getting a Cloud Foundry or getting a Kubernetes or getting some other tool or investing in GAI? Because that does not give you that much of value on that day. So how do you do it? So I think for that, I think what the importance is that you have to look at what can happen. And that's where the value of that small step can be very big. That's what if you see on the horizontal bar, there was do nothing, manual process, very high. I am not saying that we would not have been adopting cloud. I'm not saying that we would not have any good technology, but that would have been a very different path, Like we would have relied on a lot of external services, a lot of other organizations that provide it, maybe not buying again a heavy products from a lot of companies, and then low ability to change or innovate, and then basically we'll be running our technology, but not owning it, but not having the attachment that we have today. But if you look at Cloud Foundry, we got what? IAC, we got open source in, then we got the adaptability in, then we got like app modernization, SaaS adoption, and the journey just changed. The journey actually, from this horizontal, it actually became a multi-dimensional journey. And to become a successful technology organization, you have to do it. So how do you do it? For that, what you need is that you need to think about the nth degree effect. So whenever you are thinking about taking a small step or not taking it within an organization, the nth degree effect is very important to actually talk to your leaders, to convince yourself, to convince your peers, so that you can show that the advantage that you will get over time is not only that it's a money saving, it's like that if you don't do it, if we would have been on that point running a technology but relying on others, it would have been so difficult for us to change at this point because the technology is so spread and we would be in a very difficult situation. That's how companies have been failing over the decades. If you see, we have examples of like what Kodak and a lot of things. If you see, they were doing all the right things, but the only thing is that the nth degree effect was somewhere missing. And that lead to me like, let's say,
just to say that green path was actually a journey. The green slide, the green section of the slide, that's where we actually are today.
Yeah, that's where we are
not
actually
a made up slide. That's,
yeah.
That's why he's saying the nth degree effect. That's how we took the smallest step and reached somewhere we are today right now as technology.
So if you look at the enterprise change trajectory, so that is our trajectory that we have taken. Generative AI? Yeah. If you look at the enterprise change trajectory, that is our learning that we think apply across the industry, apply to a lot of departments. And so how do enterprises actually change? So let's say you have taken that decision that you want to change. You have passed that first barrier of going through the inflection point, and now you want to take that small step. So how do you do it? So let's say you are on the green point, and this is your direction of your organization. And this is where the industry is going, and the purple point is where the industry is today. So how generally people look at things, how do you change an organization? What do? You look from, it's a very basic thing, yeah? You run a change program, you invest millions and millions of dollars, and you go from here to here. But that is a recipe of disaster. That's because millions and millions, if you run that big change programs, they have a tendency to fail. You are committing too much, and you don't know. There are so many unknowns. So it's a recipe of disaster. And a lot of organizations have tried, like, running a digital transformation program, and that runs for years, and it just goes, and then there are leadership changes, and so many mails, or you don't know what happens, A lot of there is very good selling in that, but doesn't success, there is no success in it. So how do you change? So if you have to change an organization, the first thing is that you have to look at the trajectory. The trajectory is going to be somewhat like this, where you have multiple small steps towards what you want to achieve, that you have to go through multiple change programs. Your trajectory will be something like this. It won't be a straight line, and if you see, initially, the success is very less, and there will be a lot of irritation. But you have to stay with that. You have to calm down and see, OK, this is going to change. So change initially is very slow, and I'll come on to that next slide, how it exactly works. So if you look at it, this is how, and to drive this change, what you need is a solid organizational intent. That is the first part, that the first learning of our journey, that the organizational intent is a very important thing whenever you are thinking about the change. And what is organizational intent? Buying from leaders, buying from the people that you have in the organization. You need some dollars, and you don't need like a $1 multi-million program and then for like 6 years or 10 years, because that's not what you need. And that's very easy, because you go to your CFO, you say, OK, I need so much money. You you show all the good vision, and he'll give it to you. It's easy, because that's one time you have to go through the CFO. But if you have to go through again and again for less money, it's more difficult, actually. You are asking for less money, but it is more difficult. But that's what you have to do if you want to become successful. So first thing that you need to put in your organization is the organizational intent. So remember this graph. This is how the graph is. But there are two problems with this graph. Yeah. Can anybody tell me what is the problem with this? It's too yeah, it's too small. Let's make it big. So let's say if you look at it, so there was industry, but industry moves on. It runs so fast that we can't even fathom. Like if you look at Kubernetes on 10 years back, like it's 10 years, what it was and what it is now. Like it was Kubernetes, and now it is a landscape. It is all moving. It is moving so fast that we can't even We can't even think. We don't know what will be there after 10 years. So what you need is, if you have done just a change program or multiple change programs, you would be in a very sad state because you would be on the yellow part and then the industry has moved on. Again, you go back, okay, I need more organizational intent, and then you will be always in a catch-up game. So how do you do it? Change momentum. So whenever you are investing in the organizational intent, the second thing that you need to invest is in the change momentum in your organization. That is a very important thing that we have learned after a lot of failures, that we used to change and then industry moved on and then we have to again run change programs, but then we started investing in the change momentum. And what is change momentum? Change momentum is those structures, that habit of change, so that you also change the people, you also change the structure across, so that when the ball is moving, there is less friction, so that when the change programs are going on, there is a habit of change that becomes. So it's not like that you go to CI, and if you have to change the CI, it takes another change program. After some time, you need to put those structure in so that the structures that are there, they allow you to introduce those new tools, new technologies over the time, and it becomes your BAU, what we call in a lot of organizations. It's not the change the business now. It's like running the business is like this. You have to adopt new technologies, and that should be automatic. So that is the first problem. But industry is killer. It just does not move. It changes the direction. It changes the dimensions of itself. Like it was Cloud Foundry, the cloud, Docker, and then the Kubernetes came in. Now the generative AI, you don't know what will be next. I think the Google quantum chip 3 days back, I don't know what it will do after 5 years. Nobody knows what it will do. So what happens is that the industry changes the dimension and the direction. And if we do not catch up with it, if we do not move forward, and if we do not move in the right direction, we are going to be in a very sad state in any enterprise, any organization. And that generally happens with life as well, but who can do what? I don't have the recipe for life, but yeah. So the third thing, how do you go about that? There is one thing that you can do. You can hire a team of 100 architects, and they'll always be looking at what you have and then driving the organization. But that does not work, actually, because they also become part of the same system. Because the problem is that ideas come from diversity. If you do not have diversity of ideas, if you do not have that diversity, that wild thinking, the people like us who come to conferences, a lot of people are annoyed about, like, they are so vocal voices that they are always like, now I need this or I need that. All those people, they are in the organizations, either they are suppressed or they are like, okay, I don't want to work with that person. Those people are very important. What you need to do is you have to channelize their energy. You have to actually invest in them. That's what we call the catalysm. That is very important. It's like that when you are flying an airplane, you need the right direction. And those people have all the good insights. They read a lot. They actually talk to people a lot, and they like to experiment, and that's why they are vocal, maybe frustrated a little bit, but vocal. So this is your actual. So if you have all these things, if you have all three things, your actual trajectory will be like this. And it's not change, it's not continuous change, it's not transformation. So the world that we are currently in, it is a world of continuous transformation. And that is what we have to do. Whatever organization that you are, startup or a technology service provider, or for especially the enterprises that are powered by technology, you have to be in a state of continuous transformation. And we believe that you need a continuous transformation strategy. That is very important. You just can't have a single strategy. You need a strategy that changes. Even your strategy has to change. It has to refocus maybe every few months. So,
bit time check.
Okay, why it's not moving?
I can move from here.
Yeah. Yep. So this is what we feel is the continuous transformation, and a small formula of it. And it actually, this is a spiral. It starts with intent, then you invest in catalysm, then you go for momentum, and it's a spiral. If you invest right time at right places, then it will go up and the speed will increase. But if you actually do not do any of one of the thing, it will become a friction, and then it actually goes down. So it is very important that you actually invest. It can be measured as well if you have the right KPIs, but if you do, in our experience, it can, if you do the right thing at the right time, it will actually going up and the things will move fast, and I can actually guarantee that because of the journey that we have. If you see 14 to 16, it was something like that, and then it actually is increasing, and over the years, we believe that all of this, all the catalysm that we have, the structure for catalysm that we have, the organizational intent that we have, all those things are growing, and so is our momentum going up again over the years, and we believe that in the next few years, it will be even far greater if we follow it right. So, Ashwin,
absolutely. I mean, thanks for the insight, Shubham. It was great to see how, I mean, those three factors which we have brought here are the factors which actually help you in the continuous success. Everything is continuous nowadays, continuous deployment, continuous architecture, continuous integration. So is the strategy as well. We are not strategists by nature, but we are trying to propose how technology shall change in the enterprise to really become on the right strategic path that you want to. The last slide which Shubham showed is the real slide that we are sitting today on multiple aspects, and these are the technology that we have adopted over the year. We started from 2014. That's when they brought in PCF as the first small step in their company. That's from where we got multiple open source coming into our system, and there are multiple open source. This is not a complete list. It's just the major technology we are showing you. There are multiple more than this which are running right now, and we have a big adoption of open source in our ecosystem. We are having multiple saving programs which are focusing on how can we save money from moving away from big proprietary tools and licensings, which have been biting a lot to us. You may call out a slow approach, right? 2014, 2025, almost 11 years. Why? What took it so long to do? It may look slow, but slow is good. You may remember the story of the tortoise and the hare, right? It's an end game we are into. We are not for a short game. If you keep running all the time, you will get tired, exhausted, burned down. It was called out nicely in the keynotes today, yesterday. Then we are not here to burn down, right? We are here to be in a long game. So keep moving persistently. Consistently is the key motive that we have been doing to achieve the goal we have. That's why we have been slow, and we are happy about it. We took baby steps, we did corrections, those multiple change programs. We have been running multiple type of change programs as well to see how can we change ways of working, not just technology. Technology is just one aspect, it's just the enabler. You have to change your ways of working, the ways of thinking, the catalysm into system, you have to nurture them, grow them, and make multiple catalysts. We actually have now Catalyst Forum within company which runs every week, where a lot of such people with radical ideas are brought together, and they bring ideas, they brainstorm on them, and something is taken forward as the engineering function to see how can we adopt into the organization. So we are now a churning machine which is generating ideas constantly to keep us up on our toes for technology adoption. If I tell you, you may not believe, but we have teams in the company who make 2,500 releases in production every year. That too in business hours, no weekend working. So we have changed ourselves tremendously, but it's just happening quietly in our ecosystem. Sorry, I'll just go back a bit. We had reason to scale slow. We had our fears. We had to develop the controls into system because we are from highly regulated market. Financial market, we work from European Union and Asia-Pac and other countries. So we have to stay compliant and regulated. So we have to follow the right processes, right audit controls, and good system to support our OSS adoption. Just to talk, because this is a very important aspect about any open source adoption, and you may have heard a lot of talks about how do you have vulnerability management, runtime security controls, and all those things of containers and other aspects. So we also have built our own controls in place, which has taken us quite some time, and that's why we have been moving slowly again. And those are DEST, SAS security analysis of your code, SCA for static code analysis, open source record book as well to maintain what we are having in the company and what are we using right now. And all those things of security and controls have been building over the period of time so that we can successfully go ahead and keep scaling rather than stopping ourselves at one point. Okay, yeah, so next giant leap.
Yeah, so I think this is what we have done, and I think these are the three major things that we are right now running in the organization. First is inner source. I think I love inner source is kind of our t-shirt as well. It's kind of logo in our organization right now. That I think inner source has given us great benefits, and we want to double down on it, like too much. Like we have now communities coming in, so we have created internal communities that can actually reflect the open source world. We have all of our IAC and a lot of JavaScript or whatever can be common. So our idea is to make common libraries, so that we can, evolve them. So it not only saves money, the developer time, it improves developer productivity, it improves a lot of vulnerability management, a lot of things. It keeps standardization in. So whatever we think that whatever is the way of developer productivity, a very big part of it goes through inner source. So I think that is our major giant leap. Other two are like Gen AI. I think it's for everybody. I don't have more words for it. But contributing back to open source, so we are big users of open source now. We have some. So we set up our open source office 2 years back, which actually, because in a regulated environment, multinational organization, a lot of, and when you are financial organization, everybody is just behind you. They want to regulate you somehow, whatever way. So there are so many regulations, but now we have found a path with few other organizations to set up open source office, and that has all the things, including starting from vulnerability scanning to the code scanning to the PI data scanning to the regulation and regulation license management and everything. So we have now found a path. We have started contributing back. And if you see the inner source and open source contribution, this actually goes hand in hand. So people get idea how to contribute in communities in inner source. Now they are actually translating into the open source, because contributing to open source is very important for us, because that allows us to to have our voice in the projects that we are using, which is very important for all of us. So these are
we're still kind of picking up there, and we have a process getting set up. We have Puneet here with us as well from Fidelity, who is kind of working on that office to see how can we have right processes in place so that we can contribute very openly to multiple projects in open source world.
Yeah, so I think these are the giant leaps that we would like to talk about next year, like how we have made them successful. So I think that's what we have. And
no, we are not done yet, sorry. We are also hiring, of course. We also need good engineers. So we have great roles open for Kubernetes platform engineering and AWS platform engineering. So if you're an experienced person, we're looking for around 10 years of experience in both roles. Please, you can drop me a CV, and I'll pass it to the HR for processing further. Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Have a good day.
If you want, you can get connected.
We have a couple of gifts left for Q&A. If you have any question to ask, first 2 questions get 2 gifts as well. So, yeah, please.
So you talked about moving from enterprise product to an open source product. In my experience, as the scale for users grows, it becomes a headache to manage that yourself. So we essentially move towards an enterprise version of the open source product. We are essentially moving from one kind of enterprise to another kind of enterprise, sometimes also called SaaS in some aspects. What are your thoughts on that? Is it better? Is it same? I understand, like, standardization of things that are used across the industry is always better. But
So we actually have done open source contribution 10 years back. When we adopted Cloud Foundry, we did a Cloud Foundry based giving back to community. That was more enterprise bubble in the GitHub, and we were doing there rather than, as I said, openly. We had our regulation control. So now we are trying to bypass that, and not bypass, find a way around it with the right legal involved. At that time, maybe we did not involve legal. We tried to do whatever we could easily as technologists. Now we have right legals involved who are helping us. It's not easy, of course, to live with legal all the time. I hope no one is listening here from Fidelity. But the legal team is always difficult to deal because they have their right duties to do to save, protect interest of Fidelity and their customers. So it's a difficult path, but we're trying to find a way where we can actually openly contribute back to all the open source, at least that we use in Fidelity, if not nothing else.
I think your question was a little different. It was like, the question was that we used to be in a state of like enterprise products. Now open source products supported by enterprise is more like your idea. I think both are okay. Nobody is against like getting enterprise supported, like if we talk about Red Hat OpenShift versus Kubernetes, open source Kubernetes. I think it's a very, it's as an organization where you are, it totally depends. What type of environment that you are, what type of clusters that you run. So I think for us, it has been more towards, let's look at if we can manage it. So initially, if you look at our journey, it was like, let's buy it from PCF, from Pivotal, then move it to the open source. Now, as we have invested that much in our engineers over the years in that structure, now we are onto it, okay, let's try to manage it. If it becomes so difficult, then we will think, okay, do we really have to buy it? It's not like that you will never buy anything. Yeah? We buy a lot of products. So we are an enterprise. We have a lot of products. But the idea is that we want to minimize that. So, and we want to minimize it at places where it controls us. That is our main thing. Like if you look at a lot of enterprise security tooling, we buy a lot of enterprise security tooling. There's no denying that. Yeah, but the thing is that for few things, we have taken a path now. It's more of a very strategic choice. Let's use open source, or maybe then go to, if you don't want to use open source, let's go to do cloud providers provided. Like we are a big user of EKS. So it's kind of a very hybrid type of support. And then if it does not work, let's go and buy something. So I think it's more of a choice.
It's build versus buy always remain there. You are
it's kind of build versus buy is also
we have to
kind of
always
a
consider
thing.
that, yeah. It is no easy answer. Yeah, please.
Okay, for the idea is that are you evaluating any open source GenAI tools, and do we have any idea? Okay, so GenAI particularly, so currently we are in a state where we have a Philex GPT because we can't just directly use ChatGPT. So for that we have gotten, so we are using LangChain for that. And that's a framework. I do not understand when you are talking about GenAI open source tools, so there are frameworks generally for a lot of tools. That's what we are using. We are using a LangChain. That was the preferred choice from developers. And I think Llama Index is also there, but yeah, I think that was the choice, open source tools. Okay, so for the okay, for that, I think I'm not so sure about.
We are taking cloud platforms there, AWS and Azure platform services rather than anything from open source world. So that's what we are doing right now. And we are using the ChatGPT services behind the scene to wrap it up rather than offering it.
We are not so sure about that open data up here and all.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, from the platform point of view, we are using cloud platforms as compared to rather than running our own. Yeah, please. CF push.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So the question is, how do you move from something like PaaS, where it was like CF push, and it used to do a lot, but Kubernetes, again, it looks simple, but it is, again, there is a lot that you have to do. I think there are multiple strategies to it. It's a very valid question. First thing is Paquito, something like Paquito, where you actually, it provides you similar experience. So few of the developers actually prefer something like Paquito. The other thing is that a lot of applications that we had, they actually took the path of ECS before we had Kubernetes, so now it is more easy for them. And the third thing is we are actually looking at how do we invest in something like Backstage so that it actually becomes a lot of Kubernetes knowledge that you require on daily basis. It is actually behind a GUI or something like that. So I think 3 strategies, but we want to move into a pure Helm state that we in the longer term.
So we are working with the customers on moving
and
from
inner
PaaS
source is a big deal because we have actually a lot of Helm charts. So whatever we are doing with Kubernetes, it is all inner source. We have all the Helm charts, all the libraries in inner source. So if you want to use anything, if you want a Java app, so you don't have to think a lot. You just take the Helm chart that is standard Helm chart for Phil, and then you actually just use it.
I think we'll take other questions offline because we have to prepare stage for next talk. Maybe last question, yeah.
Yeah, we are using EKS, Amazon EKS and AKS. That's what we are doing for now.
Thank you for your time, and please collect your gifts, whoever has asked the first 2 questions and the answers for the chess questions. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, guys.